like the others, futuristic love of difference. DNA, they don't understand you. You're from a whole nother world, a different dimension. You open my eyes, and I'm ready to go. Lead me into the light. Kiss me, you kiss me, and pet me with your love and fill me with your poison. Take me, I wanna be a victim, ready for abduction. Girl, you're an alien, that's so vulnerable.
Welcome to PEEP episode number 12, PEEP Live. We are coming to you live from the centre of Newcastle upon Tyne from our secret hidden studio. We are almost reaching 2,000 subscribers, so if you have not already subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. You may want to hit that notification button too. We bring you up-to-date information on combat news, on life, on media, on streetwear. This is your number one place to be. So now's the time to subscribe. Now's the time to hit that notification button. Tell your friends, tell your family. Peep is the place to be. You can follow us on Twitter at Peep Magazine. You can follow us on Instagram at peeplive. And the website is peep.ltd. My name is James Watling. I am Peep's official Chief Officer of Content, which sounds quite exciting, quite a glamorous title there I just created for myself. And I also run Team Alpha, which is a training system method and methodology, so to speak, which involves strength and conditioning, mixed martial arts, kickboxing, nutrition, supplementation, and practical and sports psychology. I am linked closely with Elite Fitness, which is the Northeast #1 training facility located in Alnwick. We are sponsored by, and I should also mention, as it's only our second show together, I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Mr. Scott Illingworth.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, James.
Thank you, Scott, for being with us on episode 12. So, second show in now.
It is a second show indeed, yeah. Ready to go.
Ready to go. Ready and raring to go.
Yeah.
We are also sponsored. We have numerous partners, I should say. And one of our partners for PEEP is Spennymoor Sports, which are the Northeast #1 boxing retailer. They specialize in boxing and the combat arts, boxing gloves, punch bags, those gel bags, water bags, focus mitts, specifically designed boxing shorts and robes, but they do hold other sportswear as well. We actually visited Spennymoor Sports over the summer, and if you go onto our YouTube channel and you just scroll down, you can actually find under the PEEPXS, PEEPXS, or is it under SINTAX? I'm not too sure, but you can scroll down and find out our SINTAX. I thought it was SINTAX. Our Spennymoor Sports special, where you can actually see us going to the store and speak to Kieran Kane, who's the owner and proprietor of Spennymoor Sports, and get more information that way. They've also very generously donated a few prizes for us to give away as part of the competition, which is a fight pack, which I'm going to kind of show to you. And it seems to be adding every week. So we have these incredible Toughwear hand paddles. I should mention these because I always remember these as coming from Taekwondo. They'd use them for the kicks, so you're not stopping a spin kick, for example, or a jump kick, but you can still have some kind of contact. But these have come into the boxing world. A nice alternative to focus mitts. So basically, instead of just generating power, it's very much for speed and distance. And Baz Jones, one of our regular viewers, shout out to Baz Jones, one of the UK's greatest boxing padmen and boxing coaches at Manor Gym. Shout out Manor Gym. Uses these, and I've used them myself for training on. Fantastic items. We also have some hand wraps as well to go with those Toughwear hand wraps, which hopefully we can see there, and some boxing tapes and bandages too. So these are all part of our prize. Cue the photograph. Boom. So all you have to do to win, I'm going to read this off my, once again on the Rocky film, the dummy chart. And what was the name of that fragrance again? Did you write it down last week? Was it Beast?
Beast
Aftershave.
Like that,
yeah, Beast Aftershave, something like that. So my dummy card, so I'm going to read off the screen because we've updated now. It's, 2028, nearly 2020, can you believe that? Where all those robots that are meant to be chasing after us. So what you have to do to try and win these is once we reach 2,000 subscribers, which is why I'd said to tell your friends, tell your family, hit the subscribe button, all the people you know out there, all your training partners. We will randomly pick a subscriber from our channel and the lucky person will win all these select goodies. So once we reach 2,000 subscribers, we will randomly pick a subscriber and obviously announce him on the show, and they will win all these delicious boxing goodies. So hit the subscribe. It's all about the subscribe button. So please hit that subscribe button. Thank you to my friend and student, Michael Casely, for hitting that subscribe button. He tuned in on last week's episode, and he said after that he's going to be a lifetime subscriber. Our intro music, if you've noticed, we changed the intro music last week. It's actually another one of our partners, a new metal band an American new metal band called Consinity. And they've actually created that music for us. It's a cover of a Katy Perry song. And their manager reached out to us and explained that one of their guitarists is a massive fan of our channel. It's not Ridley Scott, is it? He's broken away from film and gone into the guitar. And they've given us permission to use their music archive. So you can check out Consinity at www.consinitymusic.com. So that'll be interesting.
Their album's Awaken the Falling.
Awaken the Fallen. They must obviously have content on YouTube then. So could we find some of their content on YouTube, their music, or on Spotify?
Yeah, it's their album is on YouTube.
Yeah. So
Consinity Music.
Yeah, so just type in Consinity Music on that YouTube search button, and you can
on iTunes as well.
Yeah, on iTunes, and listen to some of their fantastic sounds. So we're very grateful to them for so to speak, donating that track for us to use as our theme tune. So yeah, actually, just it's a little bit of a sad episode because there's been a big change. Now I don't know if you noticed in the studio the lighting's it's fantastic lighting. We've Cliff Sainsbury, I should mention, is our CEO, our leader. Of the channel, CEO, International Man of Mystery. Yeah, so you've got CEO, I've got, what's mine, CCO, so can we do CGO, Chief Graphics Officer, or Chief something?
We'll think of something.
We'll get a C. We need to be C's. Yeah. Maybe G's is preferable, but it's all good. My point was, and we're in Show Black. Myself and my co-host here in Show Black. But there is something missing from tonight's episode, and that is our usual slot with Ridley Scott. So we'd just like to have a second of silence. Right, back to the show. So the winner for the trainers, here's the thing, guys. If you rewatch that Spending More Sports mini documentary that we've done, as part of that documentary, we actually launched a competition, and it was this. It was one of the things Spending More Sports also have, Kieran also stocks. Shout out to Kieran Kane. If you're there, please put a comment in the comment section or tweet us. You're very much into trainers, retro trainers specifically. And Cliff brought in a pair of old school Adidas trainers. They're right behind me. You can see them on the wall there. They're a nice like a light blue, like a sky blue yellow color. Best trainers Cliff has ever had.
They were originally sky blue. I don't know what color.
Originally sky blue, more of like a dirt blue. I don't know, maybe an off sky blue. And it was to guess what, not the brand. Obviously, the brand's quite clear. But what would you say that the design of the trainers or the name of the style design of the trainers was? And we have a winner for that. So the winner's name is. Do I have his name?
It's Laurent Robert.
And can we have that?
Laurent Robert.
Yeah. He has won the prize, and the prize is a official Peep t-shirt.
He wins the trainers.
You win the trainers.
Fortunately, he hasn't.
You win the trainers. And you win a Peep t-shirt and a Spending More Sports t-shirt. So that's a 2-for-1 deal right there, which I think is fantastic. I'm not sure size. I think they're just large. I think we just bang out large sizes, which is kind of a one size fits all, so to speak. So well done to you for winning the 2 t-shirts and the Adidas trainer prize. Right then, we also have a phoning guest that's going to phone in later on tonight.
Should we tell people what the trainers actually are?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Let's do that.
They are Adidas Adistar racing shoes.
There you go. So what are they designed for? I mean, are they a street shoe or running? Not a running shoe.
No, road racing.
They are a road race shoe.
Yeah.
For media production.
They're also media. We should Adidas, if they've got any sense, we'll do a peep line.
Yeah.
You know, just media studio. What do you call it? What are you using for media production? Media production trainer that we can wear in the studio. You know.
Basically run about from job to job.
Yeah.
Getting into lectures.
Yeah.
Missing late for lectures.
Maybe that's-
going backwards and forwards to pubs.
Yeah.
going in and out of- Basically, them type of trainers.
Well, that could be a whole thing that they're missing. So if we can get roughly 100, what do you reckon Adidas would need a petition, right? What, about 250,000?
I'd say so, yeah.
So I think if we've got 250,000, studio production types out there want their own line of trainer, then please write it on the comments section. We'll send those into Adidas. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to design a studio range.
I think they will.
I think we can do that.
Adidas times peep.
Yeah, we need that.
Chatting already on the show.
We've already got somebody chatting on the YouTube.
It's Barry
Barry.
as well.
Jonas Barry? Is it Jonas Barry from the manager?
All right. Okay, Jonas, thank you for tuning in. Fantastic. Thanks for joining us. Shout out to the manager. Jonas, thanks for watching us tonight. I hope you're going to enjoy the show. And without further ado, we're going to get into combat news, our regular section, just as we get into combat news. So officially, it's combat news. Do you have a graphic for that? We don't. I'm just going to, we're in there. So first of all, we'd like to wish Durham's East Durham College specifically, Darren Richardson, the best of luck tonight, who'll be fighting on the undercard of the George Groves Callum Smith final of the World Boxing Super Series. So Darren Richardson's obviously a local fighter, Durham-based, and he's sponsored, I believe, with Kieran at Spennymoor Sports. And Spennymoor, as I said before, that they embroid shorts and robes, etc. I'm sure they've done Darren's. So we'd like to wish him the best of luck tonight on his big event, on his fight. So, combat news. We're going to touch firstly just a little bit onto the Triple G versus Canelo fight, because it's something we discussed on the last show. Just very briefly, Triple G 51-2 with 34 knockouts. That's his record now. Canelo's record is 38-1-1 with 34 KOs. Canelo was victorious. He beat Triple G on what's called a majority decision, which essentially means one judge has a draw and the other two judges had the other fighter, in this case Canelo, winning the fight. In essence, it was considered in a sense controversial, but I feel controversial is a word that's just thrown around nowadays, where at the end of the day, people have highlighted that, but really what is a controversial decision? It's you could look back to the Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, their first fight. That was considered quite controversial. That was actually a draw. The majority of people had Lennox Lewis winning, but then the heat died down there, and they had a rematch, and Lewis became victorious. So I'm pointing to that because for me personally, as I said, I had Canelo winning the fight. Teddy Atlas is one of the world's most respected boxing trainers and now commentator. He actually had Triple G winning I think it was 117-112. So essentially five clear rounds ahead. I watched the entire fight. I felt that Canelo, controlled the fight with positive aggression. So he wasn't just blindly running forward. He likes to counter punch. He's not very light on his feet. Triple G seemed to stay off the back foot more, work the jab a little bit more. Canelo did go down, but not an official knockdown. I think it was more of a slip in the later rounds. So yeah, we just wanted to brush on that and just, it's interesting what's ahead for both fighters. So it's Triple G's first loss. I think he's 37, Triple G. So he's certainly coming into his mid to late 30s, whereas Canelo's still a very, very young man. So, but for me, it's interesting. Triple G, he is a legitimate strong, a strong puncher, a very hard puncher. And he's certainly got tremendous heart and skill and boxing ability. But you just feel that with Canelo, when Triple G's hitting guys, those guys are going with Canelo. He wouldn't go. He was taking some almost, if not clean shots, and yet he was still standing there and coming forward. So I want to congratulate Canelo on that loss. It'd be interesting to see where both fighters go from there. Triple G by no means is, one loss for the love of God. It's, it's not the end of the world. He can come back, but he is getting on now. So where will he turn? Will he decide to move up a weight? Will he decide to stay? So some potential opponents, for both of them, I would say Billy Joe Saunders, who could be a potential one. Although there was news that came out, I just touched on today that apparently Billy Joe Saunders has been, I think, sorry, with...
You saw that?
Yes, that's right, USADA, and I'm not sure for drug use now whether or not it was performance-enhancing drugs, which I assume it was, and not street drugs. And apparently he could be stripped of his belt, but I imagine his team will appeal. So I'd written that before that news had broken. Another possibility I thought for Triple G, although I couldn't actually see it happening just because his name was Amir Khan, but we'd obviously seen what had happened when Canelo had got hold of Khan. I mean, it is kind of an accident waiting to happen. So you might find that Triple G, I can't see him working his way back in. He'll probably want to bounce into another big fight. So we'll see how it will be. There's some names out there, not very well known names outside the circles of boxing. So I wasn't going to touch too much on that. And then Canelo obviously moves on to bigger and as not better, but as gooder things in his career. So that was an interesting fight I want to touch on. So, it's on there to watch on YouTube. So if you want to watch yourself and perhaps comment on what you thought, that would be interesting. Either Triple G or Canelo. Who did you have winning the second fight? So just briefly moving on to a more recent fight by 1 week was the Alexander Povetkin versus Anthony Joshua. Is that Povetkin versus Joshua? Anthony Joshua, our very own world champion, our own British heavyweights. They are ruling the roost now. Lennox Lewis. Preceding that, we obviously got Tyson Fury. Before that, we had Frank Bruno, or even though he's exposed in a sense, at the highest level, or he was a legitimate world champion. So the Povetkin versus Joshua. So Alexander's record, I'm afraid to say Povetkin now, his record drops to 34-2 with 24 KOs, and Joshua's rises to 22-0 with 21 KOs. So Anthony Joshua won by it was a technical knockout, although more technically than that, it was a referee stoppage. The referee basically waved the fight off. Alexander was dropped late in the fight, or mid to late rounds rather, with a blistering combination from Anthony Joshua. I think it was actually a straight right hand, and he just fell onto his back. He composed himself, got back up, and then continued on, and then basically just walked into Anthony Joshua's, again, vicious combinations. And as the referee was stopping the fight, his cornerman kind of jumped in and put his hand out, which I think then, helped Povetkin fall to the ground. So a tremendous performance from Anthony Joshua. I think we all had our heart in our hands as the fight had begun, because Povetkin, even though he's a very, he's not a very, but nowadays a 6'2", 16-stone heavyweight is considered, small, quote unquote, and he's getting on. He's nearly 40 years of age. However, he's a very composed boxer. It's not just his punching power. We saw what he did to David Price. It's not just his speed, and he's a very fast puncher, but he's got tremendous boxing ability. He won a gold medal in the Olympics. So he's a very, very high level boxer, and he was troubling Joshua, I would say, in the first 3 to 4 rounds, just catching him with combinations and that tight left hook that Povetkin would throw as he walked in. Potentially some damage there. Well, certainly some damage to Joshua's nose, potentially a break. But what's so good about Anthony Joshua, and why, for me, is the real deal, he was able to compose himself, to kind of knuckle down, didn't have to rely on his heart, just knuckled down, brought back into his boxing ability, and then started to come back and control the fight. And obviously he had power tells at the end, accurate punches, leading to his victory. So, Joshua now moves forward. It will be interesting to see, and I believe it's the 1st of December, we have the Tyson Fury against Deontay Wilder. Wilder. So the idea will be, just before I go on to that, so we'll see what Povetkin does after this. Will he retire at 39, nearly 40? We don't know. Perhaps he'll continue to fight on. He's certainly got the ability to beat most heavyweights out there. But as I said, we want to look at Joshua now. What's Joshua's next step? Now, he did make a point of saying in the post-fight interview that he doesn't have any mandatories. He has no mandatory matchups for the belts that he holds, which I think is IBF, WBA, WBO, and there might be another belt in there somewhere as well. The WBC is held by Deontay Wilder. So he's saying he doesn't have any mandatories. So where does he go? Now, he's not looking to fight until next year. So it'll be March, potentially, until we see Joshua back in the ring. But as I said, on December the 1st, we have Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. The winner of that, in an ideal world, would then go on to meet Anthony Joshua for kind of the undisputed, heavyweight champ of the world with very little argument. So what will happen in that? Will that happen? We don't know. The politics of boxing, we'll have to wait and see. But we want to congratulate Anthony Joshua for a tremendous victory and taking Povetkin out there. And good luck to Povetkin in his future career. So now we move on. Now, actually, I'm saying we're moving on. We're still deep in combat news. Combat news. And our byline for that is, and this is a patented byline, this is the fight game, not the nice game. I like that. There it is. Can that go back on the t-shirt, on the Peep t-shirts? I think that should go on the back of the Peep t-shirts.
The drone.
No, this is the fight game, not the nice game in red. Peep on the front, that on the back.
I'd love to put it on, but it's probably copyrighted by Dana White.
Oh, is it? Oh, right, is that Dana White's? Yeah, there you go.
I really want to go down that road.
Well, you know what? By the time he gets around to us, I think we'll, you know. So the next part of combat news, which we're going to dip into a little bit deeper, is Khabib versus McGregor, which is now moving over to mixed martial arts. That is set for Saturday, the 6th of October. So that's not more than, is that 2 weeks away or 1 week away?
It's got to be about 2, isn't it?
2 weeks, I think about 2 weeks away. That's at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, for the World Lightweight title. And the lightweights, it'll be an interesting matchup. Where are we? I was just going to find out because my boxing weights are normally, I'm always thinking about boxing over MMA. So lightweight in boxing, there's obviously the divisions differ in MMA to boxing, 146 to 155 pounds. Now, this is a tremendous event, a well-covered event, and a very interesting one. We have Khabib, who's 26 wins and no losses, fighting perhaps the biggest star in combat sports at the moment, helped no doubt by his last fight, which was against Floyd Mayweather, coming in with a 21 win, 3 loss, and 0 draw record. So the promotion of this fight is interesting. We have Khabib. It's almost like going back to the early days of the UFC, where you had disciplines against discipline or style against style. You'd have a karate guy fight a boxer, a wrestler fight a Thai boxer, a ninja fight a sumo wrestler, which has actually happened. So the way this is being pushed, it's almost like going in a circle back in a sense. It's like wrestler versus striker. That's how they're pushing it. Obviously, Khabib can strike. Obviously, McGregor can, wrestle and grapple. They have training in all those areas. But, hype to one side, it really does look like a wrestler versus striker when you go back over their past fights. Khabib is a very, very accomplished wrestler, and what he tends to do is when he's taking guys down, he's grabbing legs and coming forward, he's grabbing legs and he's double leg takedown, or he's kind of hip tossing, and when he's got them on the ground, he's just mauling them. He's weights on them. He's very strong and very, very big for the weight. He may cut down from 190 pounds down to the 155 limit. And he's just mauling guys on the ground, and he's sucking away the strength. When he fought, was it Barboza? Chris Reed's going to correct me on that. Yeah, it was Barboza, and he just wore him down in the first round just by laying on him, and Barboza was trying to get up.
Edson Barboza.
Thank you. Yeah, and he was trying to get up, and he's just using all his energy and strength to try and stand and go back to using his kicks, because he's a very well known kicker. Yep.
James, did you actually watch the fight with Khabib and Michael Johnson?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I was going to mention that as well.
A similar fight.
Yeah.
Barboza and Johnson.
Barboza Johnson. Yeah. Here's the thing, because I also watched the Johnson fight. What was interesting, but the reason I'm picking Barboza, because from what I remember, is he threw like a spinning hook kick, which is a very powerful move if you land it, and he landed it on Khabib, and Khabib, rather than going down, which most people do, he just what happened is he lifted his body to the side and then came back at him, and everybody was like, oh, Khabib, he can't be hurt. When Barboza threw the kick, he didn't actually land it with a heel, he landed it almost with his calf, which softens the blow. So all that energy was dissipated throughout Khabib's body, which threw him, and then he came forward. Even against Johnson, I think it was Johnson that hit Khabib and you could just see like a little wobble on Khabib when Johnson had caught him.
Some people are saying it wasn't a wobble,
Yeah.
it was more of a...
It's a movement. But here's the thing, we can all agree, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cliff's shouting from backstage, Khabib can be hit. He's not a defensive master, but he's a tremendous, wrestler, and that's his game. So it's interesting because we have seen him get hit. Obviously, every fighter gets hit. Even the most the greatest defensive fighters in history, i.e. in his prime, Roy Jones in his prime, Nassim Hamid, Muhammad Ali, who else would you throw in there? Floyd Mayweather, Pernell Whitaker for the old schoolers out there. You're still going to get hit. Who's it said, when it rains, you're going to get wet? You know, even Bruce Lee gets hit. So there you go. So everyone's going to get hit. You're going to catch shots, but Khabib can be susceptible to getting hit. So what we're coming with here is the old kind of boxer versus wrestler, and again, boxer versus wrestler, boxer versus MMA fighter. Can the boxer hit him before he gets a hold of him? And even though McGregor's a very accomplished mixed martial arts fighter, it's still the idea is, can McGregor hit Khabib before Khabib gets a hold of him? So for me personally, before we talk about the promotion, which we're going to segue into, it's much more than that. Correct me if I'm wrong, because if it's a case of hitting somebody and knocking them out with one punch before they get a hold of you, that for me is a long shot. Now, obviously, McGregor, I'd be interested in what Chris says on this, and for you guys as well. McGregor has knocked people out with one punch, or at least knocked them down to the point of where the fight's been stopped. I'm not sure if he's knocked people out completely unconscious. Maybe he has.
Yeah, he knocked it.
It was it. Aldo, that was it.
Aldo, yeah.
Unconscious for 10, like completely unconscious.
Yeah, he was out cold, I think.
For how long? Over 10?
Not that long.
Not 10 seconds.
I think he got knocked down, very, very dazed.
And then he...
I don't even know if he was knocked out.
I don't think he was. I could be wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he was being knocked out unconscious, but he obviously hits hard. Now, so my point, the second point, yes...
James, I'm really sorry to
Go.
Just Jonah Barry's asking, are you going to commentate on the Billy Show on November 17th?
On myself, I don't know. I can't answer that. I'm sure people would like to be there, but we'll have to discuss it and sort that out. But thank you. I'm sure we'd love to be involved, and thank you for commenting that. Yeah, of course. And absolutely, and thanks for watching, and thank you for commenting as well. So the answer to that is I'm not sure yet. I would have to speak with, obviously, people would have to speak with your guy over there with Cliff, and then we can put something together, I'm sure. But here's, guys, so stay with me on this one just before we move into the promotion. So the idea is, can McGregor hit? And we're talking about him punching, not necessarily kicking, because, you know, Connor, you tend to use his kicks as kind of range finders, as probes. I'm stealing that a little bit from another chap, for his big, strong left hand. McGregor's last fight was against Floyd Mayweather, okay? Now, yes, they were wearing 10-ounce gloves, and I appreciate there's a big difference between 10-ounce gloves and 4-ounce gloves, you know? But I think we can all agree you can hit damn hard with 10-ounce gloves. McGregor was not unable to even hurt Floyd Mayweather, right? Now, did he land some clean shots? Possibly. Mayweather walked McGregor down. So I'm leading to this. So McGregor hits hard, but I would say to you, if in a boxing match, obviously MMA McGregor would destroy him, but if you put Canelo against McGregor in a boxing match, what would happen, Cliff?
It wouldn't last long.
Who would get knocked out?
The thing is, it's weird, because I was reading quite a lot about this, and it's kind of, it's a minefield, because
It is a minefield, because you don't upset...
If Connor couldn't get Floyd Mayweather down on the ground,
Yeah.
which is likely, it could happen, it would be a stand-up game again. So
yes, sorry, my point... Go on.
It could be another boxing match within the octagon.
It
could be.
It could be. I mean, as far as any boxer going into with McGregor into an MMA match, McGregor's going to destroy them. They're going to be gone. They don't have a chance unless they're huge punches. But what we're saying was, if you put McGregor in a boxing match with Canelo Alvarez, I don't think McGregor's going to get past 3 rounds, because Canelo Alvarez is likely to destroy him. And then what I mean by this is, if we're relying on the fact of McGregor landing one punch, and I could be wrong, on Khabib, and if he can't land that one punch before Khabib gets a hold of him, then McGregor's going to lose. Then I think McGregor's going to lose, but I don't believe that's the case. You know, it's not just a case of when Khabib gets hold of him, McGregor is likely to do this, to work from the floor, rather than just trying to stand up, to actually fight Khabib on the ground, maybe from underneath him, throwing elbows, throwing punches, rather than using all his energy just to stand up. That's not to say McGregor can't hurt Khabib with strikes. Obviously he can. But the idea that all McGregor can do is throw one punch and as soon as Khabib gets hold of him, he's going to win, I don't buy that for a second. I think it's going to be an interesting fight. He's got the kicks. He can grapple. Yeah. I'm not saying he can wrestle with Khabib, and I'm not saying he's physically as strong, but he's not just a striker. That's my point. McGregor can strike, he can wrestle, he can submit, he can grapple. So let's see what happens. I think I'm going to make a prediction, right? I'm going to say this fight's going to go the distance and it's going to go to points. The complete opposite of what everybody thinks.
I'll tell you something.
Please, Cliff.
If it goes to points,
Conor
McGregor's got it.
I agree.
It's a segue on what we're going to talk about anyway. But
yeah.
Khabib doesn't want that fight going to points.
Yeah.
I'm putting my neck on the line there.
Well, I think it's going to go to points, and perhaps it'll be McGregor on. Do you know what? I'm going to say it's going to go to points. That's my prediction, and I'm not going to pick somebody. So, it's interesting. So, from a combat perspective, we're going to talk a little bit now about the promotion and the build-up. Now we watched the what would you call it? What would you call it? The
press conference.
Press conference. Yeah, the pre-fight, the press conference, and it was very much McGregor being McGregor, just very, very loud, very brash, very aggressive, and Khabib really just kind of sitting there and not going, not facing up. What I mean is not, fighting fire with fire, fighting fire with, colder ice, perhaps. And I think that's the best way to go about it. Because for me personally, if McGregor's in your face shouting and you're shouting back, you're playing to his strengths. You're going to lose that. And all you're actually going to do is unempower yourself by just being cool and calm and collected and giving calm answers. I think that's the way to kind of diffuse and if not to become, not to be perceived as the stronger one mentally, but at least as strong. Otherwise, I think you put yourself in a precarious position to try and have a back and forth argument with McGregor.
No, I think you're right on that one, James, and I think it's all about that initial mental game before you even got in the ring, and that's what all that was about from both sides, really.
Yeah. It's interesting because McGregor's coach, is it Kavana? Am I pronouncing it Kavana? His second name. He basically said that Conor McGregor has always been that way. That's the way he has always been. There's no problem with that. That's just his personality, and I believe that. John Kavana, yeah, John Kavana had always said that. So it's interesting. I mean, there's a lot going on in the promotion. The UFC, I'm actually a big fan, a recently turned big fan of Dana White. I recommend watching an interview he did with Tony Robinson, Anthony Robbins, one of the world's greatest life coaches and writers, amongst other things. And it was a very interesting interview hearing Dana White talk, and I really endeared me to him, listening to not just where he came from, but even how he spoke, and just a very, very interesting chap. Now, he's a very smart guy. The UFC obviously are about making, as well as putting on tremendous events, but making money. They're a business at the end of the day. And part of the build-up and the promotion has been the quote-unquote coach incident, so they're using that as a build-up. Now, I'm going to give my quick, short brief and then correct me if I'm wrong on this. So essentially, Khabib, along with, several of more than several handfuls of UFC fighters were in the kind of the coach area in the stadium, which I believe was it in Las Vegas or they're in Nevada? Yeah. And they're all basically getting onto the bus to be moved away from the stadium, to the hotels, wherever they're going. And then Conor McGregor must have got word of this, and Khabib, I believe, had struck one of Conor McGregor's training partners or something similar. So McGregor and his kind of team, so to speak, had found out that Khabib was on a coach, was about to leave. I don't think they broke through security. Security let them through, and I'm not surprised because it's Conor McGregor, one of the biggest stars. He's like, I need to get into the coach. He's like, well, okay, you're Conor McGregor. I can't imagine you're going to be stopped. So they all went down. And they just started to cause havoc, trying to get on the bus, trying to get Khabib to come off the bus. I think they were throwing things at the bus, and then it just accelerated to a point where Conor McGregor picked up a luggage trolley, I think, or luggage like cart or
they call them dollies. but
yeah, the
it's
whole
like
dollies. That's it. Yeah, and threw it at the bus, smashing the bus window. One of the fighters had some minor cuts, and then they all just kind of ran off, and it was all on camera and on film. And you know, McGregor went to court for that. He was given a fine, I believe. There's also a lawsuit from one of the fighters who was cut, who I think that was settled for $300,000 out of court. So they're using that all for the build-up. So all these things are going on, and it's an interesting promotion. It's not something that's new. You know, I was going back to the days of, you know, Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, you know, McGregor, Mayweather more recently, obviously the way that was built up, and even going back to Ali Foreman, because at the end of the day, you know, it's a business, so they're trying to promote it and trying to get bums on seats. But how do you feel, Scott, for the way that this promotion, the turns that this promotion's taken?
Well, if it wasn't a bus incident, I don't believe there'd be a fight. To be honest, the whole in fact, I think you even said that, don't you? White said that at the press conference, that after that bus incident, it made him want to, get them together, because there's a story behind it. It's going to create interest. It's going to increase. It's going to increase pay-per-view. Yeah, it's sold out. It's going to be the second largest gate in UFC history. Right. So basically, just I think he saw that or heard about it, whatever, and just thought, ka-ching. And that just shows, again, what you were saying before, the canniness of Dana White there and his business expertise and his marketing nous, really. It's just a phenomenal thing that he just went click and just did it and got that fight sorted. Yeah,
it's interesting because we wondered if McGregor would come back. I mean, I always felt that he would, because after fighting Floyd Mayweather, I think it was something like 50 million. Guys, just as a quick one, it's easy to be an and I'm not being disparaging to anybody, but it's easy to be an expert in anything if you're sitting on Google, and I'm not. So I'm just going to say what I assume. I could be wrong. I think it was 50 million or something like that McGregor was paid, around about $50 million for the Mayweather fight, and that's a hell of a lot of money. Now, that's not to say you could live the rest of your life with that, because if you are a complete moron, which some people are, you could literally spend that. You know,
it doesn't. Quick.
But I would imagine that he could, you know, with McGregor, he's got obviously money in the bank. He has business interests. He has business advisors as well, financial advisors that will be helping him to invest. So I imagine he's very, very financially secure. One would imagine he's not coming back for the money. But he is quite a young guy. He still has that real kind of fighting spirit within him. So to me, it always made sense he would come back. But perhaps, I don't know what you think of this, Scott, but to come back for the right fight, the right event, and to make the right amount of money, you know? I mean, I don't know if he's just coming back purely because he wants to prove that he can beat Khabib. It's deeper reasons, and perhaps the promotion touches on that.
No, there's deeper reasons, and I think also as well, within the contract somewhere, there's that big sponsorship for proper 12.
Yes, yeah, we're going to talk about
McGregor's
that.
whiskey. So that's another thing. It just boosts his whiskey sales up immediately without really doing anything. So it depends. I don't know what the contract was, but
I'm not sure. Yeah,
if that's going to be, I mean, that was mentioned throughout the press conference, and that's going to be on the canvas floor. So my cynical side says that could be a big part of it, because again, if that brand takes off, then he is set for life if he's making a
absolutely
whiskey sales.
Well, I think that's it. You know, if you're relying as let me just point to an actor, Ryan Reynolds, who I love. I think he's fantastic. Now he has it's been around for a while, Aviation Gin, and he's bought into that. I'm not sure what percentage, but he's bought into that. So there's parallels for actors and fighters, because it's like, if you're an actor who just acts, gets a check, spends it, acts, gets a check, that's not a good way to live. If you're investing in a business such as, and what's even more popular is, you know, alcohol, you know, gin, or whether it be, you know, Dre has his, I think it's, certainly 50 Cent has like a champagne, he's bought out an alcoholic drink. McGregor with it seems to be the trend now to invest in alcohol companies, alcoholic drinks. But the point is, if you're investing into a business that you have the money to market, you have a lot of kind of interest in you as an individual, it's highly likely that all McGregor's fans, or the vast majority of them, are going to buy that you're investing into your future. And it seems to be a clever move for him. And obviously tying that into the fight promotion, and you would imagine, well, I'd be quite confident to say McGregor's not paying any money towards the promotion of the fight. The UFC are signing that check.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's, part of his contract will be, as you said, as you pointed out, which I hadn't really thought, that part of the contract will be to promote the proper 12. Now, I think what we should do and what I'd like to do once we get to 2,000 subscribers, and I feel tonight we should have had some proper 12 for us to sit and have. Do you know what I think that would have been nice? We'd had some proper 12 in the studio. What we'll do, guys, we'll invest in some proper 12 and we'll have a drink of proper 12 and we'll tell you what it's like. I think that'd be interesting. So it's a huge promotion. I'm just going to refer back to my dummy card here. So where are we going? Yeah, the promotion's just going to get bigger and bigger. The hype's going to get bigger and bigger. And let's just hope the fight itself lives up to the hype, which I'm sure it will. The last thing I'll say just before we get into a little bit more of the behind the scenes stuff of the fight was, when McGregor and Khabib were at the press conference, what I found interesting was the fact that you only had Dana White standing between McGregor and Khabib, and you could almost swear McGregor would push Dana out the way and go for Khabib, and if that happened, the fight would essentially be off. Do you think that McGregor's got the conscious sense that no matter how aggressive he seems, to not actually get physical? Let me just say this. Because if he does that, surely the fight would be null and voided and he's going to lose 20, 30 million. But then this is the same gentleman who threw a dolly at the bus to get to him. What do you guys think?
It's not because him and Dana White are best mates as well.
Do you think?
I think they're pretty friendly, yeah. And
but do you think that would be enough to stop him wanting to climb over him to get at Khabib? Yeah. What would you think, Cliff?
Well, I think we're living in an age now where preferential treatment has gone through the roof, and it's like there's no qualms about it. When a fighter comes up on stage and drinks whiskey with the promoter who's promoting the fight, and Khabib sitting on one side, just like looking. I mean, what does that tell you? What does that tell you about the sport today?
Well, it's a business, isn't it?
It's a business.
And to McGregor's credit, he did offer Khabib a glass of the whiskey. to his credit. Just talk a little bit about Reebok losing their deal, which is tying into this. Yeah, Reebok have lost a court case over their McGregor clothing line, as Amsterdam fashion brand McGregor already existed in the market space and do not want to be confused with such a controversial figure. You would think they would want to be confused the controversial figure, because that would probably increase their sales. I would imagine their monthly sales. But there you go. The bottom line. Conor McGregor has also withdrawn his application to use the word notorious for his whiskey enterprise. Carlo Brewing Company has claimed the two cannot coexist in the marketplace.
I'll stretch on that because that wasn't quite clear. Yeah, so basically a sub-brand of Carlo Brewing is something called O'Hara, and they've got a craft red APA called Notorious. So it is another alcoholic beverage, but it's not whiskey. And I think one of the reasons he's taken it away is because it is an Irish-based brewing company. Right. And I think there could be some negative connotations. How negative connotations from Ireland if he's portraying it to be, you know what I mean. It's a bit of his shtick about being, you know what I mean. Protecting his homeland, etc. Not protecting his homeland, but you know what I mean.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I think if that was a different brand, I think you might want to try to go for it if it wasn't an Irish brand. Yeah. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. So he doesn't want to essentially go to war with his own. Because
it's too much people. Yeah, because there's too much negative publicity around that, and takes away from what he's kind of standing for.
Patriotism in Ireland. Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. It's interesting. We should also add that the Proper 12 brand it's named after his postal district. Thanks for that. I didn't know why it was called Proper 12.
There we go.
I was trying to think. Well, is it because it's 12? It must be more than 12% in whiskey. Well, it's actually named postal district. It's now on sale, and $5 of every case sold. So I'm assuming it's not every bottle, but every case. Which is still a significant amount, goes to the local first responder charities around the world, which is a lovely touch there by Conor McGregor. And thoughts on this, please. So that's a lovely sentiment. How much is a bottle of Proper 12?
I haven't got a clue, mate.
We should find out. Segueing into the next section, which is all UFC based. Dana White is to lose some of his UFC ownership stake. Dana White still owns 9% in Zuffa LLC, which is the entity of the Ferretti brothers, created to own Fertitta brothers, created to own and manage the UFC. It's now worth an estimate. The UFC is now estimated to be worth $7 billion. And it was sold for $4 billion to WME IMG. And Dana White was adamant he wanted to be kept on in some format. Obviously, he's retained his stake. But also he's been kept on as a figurehead of the UFC, and rightly so, I think. I think it'd be very strange to bring in somebody new to be the new, this is a new guy coming in, when Dana White's, he's so associated as part of the brand with the fans.
Yeah, he's almost as good as he is. Yeah, he is the brand to a certain extent. Yeah,
he is. Let's just call it as it is. He is the brand. I mean, I think when you say UFC, you would think Dana White, and rightly so. You know, he's championed his way to the top there. He's come from very humble beginnings when he had nothing and worked his... So what I recommend actually, chaps, if on YouTube, if you go onto YouTube and type in Dana White, Anthony Robbins interview and listen to it, because he actually talks about his history, about his upbringing in a sense, and about his rise to financial security through UFC and through, I don't want to say stardom, but you understand what running that business. And it's a great interview. Honestly, Scott, if you watch that,
I've seen snippets of it. I haven't seen the whole thing, but it looks interesting. Yeah,
it's a whole, because he's in a different environment, but it's a whole different kind of perception you get of the guy. And I think it's more a true to life perception than you would see on the, when he's promoting the UFC.
Absolutely, yeah, because obviously then he's personified, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. He's like an archetypical kind of character in there. So the Ferretti brothers originally purchased...
Fertitta brothers.
Fertitta. No, it's fine. Well, to be fair, I got Povetkin. That didn't take me... That wasn't like a Deontay incident when it took me... What was it, about 9 shows? Yeah, about 10 shows? 10 shows. The Fertitta...
We'll get there.
The Fertitta brothers originally purchased the UFC back in 2000, nearly 20 years ago, for $2 million. And what I was going to say is, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think when you speak to the millennials, kids under 20 nowadays, and you say the UFC, I don't think hardly any of them would remember the UFC of the days of Style Against Style. They would think UFC now. They would think Dana White, UFC Xbox, UFC PlayStation. I could be wrong, but when I think UFC, I always think back to the first, second, third, alongside with Dana White and the modern day stuff. But I think the kids now, my point being is that Dana White is a solid, integral part of it, and that's what people recognize.
No, absolutely, I agree with that.
So to take him out and put somebody else in, it would be a strange. So, but what we'd like to know is we'd like to know what you think of the upcoming McGregor Khabib. There we go. Because I'm doing it in reverse. Let me say Khabib McGregor. So what you guys think of the Khabib McGregor? Do you feel it's going to be wrestler versus striker? Do you feel as if Khabib's, once he gets hold of McGregor, it's going to come to an end? Do you think McGregor can, his striking is going to come to the forefront and able to stop Khabib early? A little bit on the promotion. Do you think the promotion is going to get out of hand? And most importantly, have you tried Proper 12 and what's it like? It's an interesting upcoming show. So please remember, once again, once we hit those 2,000 subscribers, we are going to launch our competition where you can win all these goods from Toughwear. Some of them are Toughwear goods, but from Spennymoor Sports, these lovely selection of boxing. Boxing goodies. And all you have to do, once we reach those 2,000 subscribers, so if you're watching out at home, subscribe, friends and family. I'd like to recommend all my teammates, all the Team Alphas out there, hit that subscribe button. Polina, hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends, hit the subscribe button. Get the notifications.
If you want to be in with a chance of winning, you've got to make sure your subscriptions are public. Otherwise, we won't be able to have you win the draw. If your subscriptions aren't public, we won't know who you are, so you won't be eligible to win.
And can we just confirm how they would go about that for somebody who just knows to press the subscribe?
It's basically you just go into your admin on YouTube, and then you have got the option to make your subscriptions public or private.
So just to confirm, once you press the subscribe button, if you go into your admin section on YouTube, which you can highlight, and if you just look to the section that says private or public subscriptions and click public subscriptions, that does mean that the public if anybody goes onto your YouTube channel, they will know who you subscribe to, which is fine. But that's the only way we can then see you. If you don't do that, we won't be able to recognize you, even if you're one of those people we select. So you essentially got a 1 in 2,000 chance of winning. But hey, somebody's got to win. Okay. So hit that. You can support us on Patreon. Patreon is the number one, I believe, YouTube's support channel, where you can actually go in and get, I don't want to say a donation, but you can pay, let's just call it a donation for now. You can subscribe, so to speak, a financial subscription each month. You can select how much you would like to give each month, and that supports the channel.
What we're doing on that is we're kind of working out a few kind of incentives.
Oh, okay.
To make it worthwhile, because obviously we just don't want to be taking cash. There's got to be a reason behind it, and we want to be giving something back if someone's going to be supporting us in the channel. Really?
And certainly as part of that, I would imagine you would get early updates, you would get early information.
Yeah, yep. And I think we're looking at magazine subscriptions.
Right.
That kind of thing as well. So yeah, but everything's in a. Yeah, we haven't worked anything out as solid as yet, but we're looking at it, definitely.
Excellent. That's fantastic. So become a subscriber. Remember, you can also follow us on Twitter at Peep Magazine, Peep Limited on Instagram, and Peep Magazine on YouTube. So please hit that subscribe channel. If you would like to follow myself, I forgot to mention at the start of the show, on Twitter, it's at Watling Hot, or you can follow me on Instagram at Team Alpha 1424 for your up-to-date training, nutritional information, and you will also find Peep.
Yes.
Can we just say thank you again to Consinity? I think it's a big deal that we've had an American, new metal band get in touch and support the channel, and allow us to use their material for the opening of the Peep Live show. So thank you very much to Consinity, and you'd also contact us at peepmagazine.co.uk. So on to our next section. That was a pretty sharp, tight combat news. How do we get on? How long was that?
It was 15 minutes, but it wasn't. Yeah.
Because here's the thing, right?
Covered a lot there.
Yeah, we did.
Because here's the thing. We've been discussing in the. Yep. We've been discussing in the studio. About the show's length, and we're being a bit concerned that some of you viewers might have found the show. It was just there we go. Right, we've been concerned that some of the viewers may have been found the shows a little bit too long. So we're looking to tighten the show up, so we'd like to get your feedback on the show length.
Definitely.
Shout out again to Baz Jones. I mentioned him because he commented, he sent me a message to say that he loves the show and thank you for your support. He finds the show incredibly enjoyable. He said something about the handsome host, and I'm sure he means the co-host too, and their wit. The man on the table, the DJ. And our knowledge and wisdom and wit and
was he watching
to the repartee? Yeah, but then he also added that he likes to fall asleep to the show.
Right. Okay.
So I'm not sure that's a good or a bad, but he finds it comforting and relaxing. So I'm sure that's the voice of my soothing voice. Let's give some white noise. So we're moving off combat shows. That's possibly the tightest and at the same time the longest combat news we've ever done. We're going to talk a little bit now on Incase. Now, I don't know if you remember a few shows back. I'm going to throw out and say show number 7. We were lucky enough to have another partner supporting us at Peep, Incase, who are a high-end, what would you say? I don't want to just say bag, but I'm going to use that word for now. Carry bag company, a very high-end company. They do laptop. Luggage company, yes. I didn't know if I wanted to use the word luggage, but we'll go with that. So a high-end luggage company, Incase. They do laptops, they do backpacks, they do travel luggage, etc. Very, very high-end. You can actually find their stuff, their bags. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly turn to the phone because we have a live caller. So I'm going to see if this works. Hello. Oh, it's fine. Hello. Chris, how are you, my man? How you doing?
James, is his phone on loudspeaker?
Oh, Chris, would you be able to put your phone on loudspeaker, please?
It's on loudspeaker.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm going to try and turn this up without turning it off.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfect.
That's perfect. We're on. Brilliant. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really good. Just tuning into the show. This is one of the best yet. With some of the things you're talking about, I love it.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, man. Thanks for the feedback. Brilliant. I was excited. I walked in and they said that Chris is calling. I was like, Chris? And they're like, Chris Reed. I was like, yes, excellent. This is going to be a great show. How's training going? So just for those viewers who just quickly, Chris, give a quick introduction. So Chris Reed is a high level jiu-jitsu martial artist. A great friend of mine, great athlete, a former professional ice hockey player. Very knowledgeable, intelligent, lovely guy, one of my closest friends, and he's been a guest in the past. I'm going to just say randomly, episode 5, I think we had Chris Reed on. It was one of the longest shows, and probably one of the best shows, other than tonight.
Other than tonight.
Yeah. So Chris, thanks for coming in. What's on your mind for tonight?
Well, just firstly, again, training-wise, you'd asked me how training was going.
Yes.
Last time I spoke to you, I was telling you I've been trying to overcome quite a bad knee issue. I had a partially torn ACL. I've got a torn femoral cartilage, and I've got some meniscal issues. But I think the good thing is I've been training really, really hard to try and overcome that. So I'm back training 100% again. So much so that on the 1st of December, I'm heading out to New York for a week because my jiu-jitsu lineage is Master Renzo Gracie down to Amal Easton to Marcos Nardini to my black belt coach. So I'm going to go out to Master Renzo's academy and get some training in there. And I'm possibly going to nip over to Marcelo Garcia's place as well, who's a high-level world champion.
Fantastic. That's brilliant.
It's going good.
So had you planned that for a while, or was it just something that you just suddenly thought, I'm going to go do this?
It was just one of those things. I think, my wife and I are going to be going out to New York just for a trip anyway, so I just obviously had to say, you know what, I think I'll do a bit of training. Yeah. So I checked it all out, so that's what I'm going to do. A couple of the days I'm going to spend them training in New York. Should be pretty awesome.
Fantastic. Chris, that's going to be fantastic. I look forward to hearing more about that as well. When you return, perhaps you could phone and tell us about your experience over there. Maybe share some images that we could put onto the Peep Instagram site. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the fight, then about the Khabib McGregor, and I just wanted to get your ideas and your opinions on there, how you felt the fight was going to go, what your prediction for the fight would be, a little bit about the build-up as well.
Yeah, sure. I think build-up wise, it's been quite interesting because it's been, I think, I guess that you've got to choose your words wisely here, but some would say, has Connor been avoiding Khabib? Has Connor been avoiding like high-level grapplers until he's been able to get his grappling up? And I think the turning point for Connor was at the press conference the first time with Nate Diaz, when Nate Diaz pointed out that Connor wasn't training with the right people. I think Connor probably was. I mean, Connor was a lot of fights up until that point, and Nate had pointed out that Nate's team could beat Connor's team, and that I think that must have had an impact on him. Since then, Connor has brought in some high-level training people. So he's training with a guy called Dylan Danis, who's a Marcelo Garcia black belt, and they've been training heavily together for the past couple of years, specifically Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Connor's brought in some wrestlers as well. So things have probably changed somewhat. Probably think that maybe he has been inactive and he had been concentrating solely on boxing, but that's not the case. With regards to the build-up of it, I'm really excited. I think it's what people would say, it's your typical striker versus wrestler. Yeah. It's really hard to make a prediction on it, but what I would say is, if Connor can do his thing within the first or second round, the fight will be over. If it goes beyond that, it's Khabib time. I don't think Connor has the cardio for it. I think if Khabib starts getting takedowns on him, and has his way with him, it's not going. No matter what training Connor's done over the past 2 years, is not going to be enough.
No, you can't train off 10, 15, 20 years of experience. You just can't do it, can you?
No, not at all. I'm sure you can learn maybe some takedown defense. I think in Khabib's last fight when he fought Ali Aquinta, Khabib struggled to take Ali Aquinta down, but then that fight was switched pretty quickly because someone had dropped out, or because Tony Ferguson was injured. Khabib had been attacked after his weigh-in in New York by Connor McGregor when he attacked the bus.
Yeah,
there was a lot of variables to consider for that one, but yeah, I think if I were actually going to bet, I would probably put my money on Khabib. I think Khabib's either going to win by TKO in the 3rd or 4th round.
Right.
There's Jimmy Superfly Snooker on the screen. He's either going to win by TKO in the 3rd or 4th, or he's going to win on points.
Yeah.
Take Conor to the ground and beat him up.
It's interesting because I think it's going to be a point. I think it's going to go points as well. I think potentially of the two. I think, fully enough, McGregor on points. But what did you think of the comment? I mean, do you agree or disagree when I said about? I don't believe it's people under the assumption that the only chance McGregor has is to hit Khabib on the way on with one punch. I mean, that to me is going back to the MMA fighter versus boxer mentality, where it's like, obviously, a straight up boxer who's got no experience in jiu-jitsu, no experience in wrestler, against the same weight, same level, skill level, experience, etc. of an MMA guy is 90% going to be beaten, taken down, whereas McGregor's knowledge is obviously much deeper than just throwing a left hand.
Of course it is, yeah. Conor McGregor's striking is fantastic. He throws his big spinning kicks to try and make the person circle into that big left. So he's not actually trying to make people. He's not actually trying to hit people with those kicks per se. He's trying to move them about.
Yeah.
Movement wise, he tries to control things and he circles really well. He moves really well. Whereas Khabib is very much just like a zombie.
Yeah, he is a little bit, isn't he?
He is, yeah. And that's the thing as well, how long can Khabib do that for? Can Khabib walk through those punches? What happens if Khabib's getting hit, with those teep kicks that Conor does? Conor does the teep kicks to try and wear people down and make them breathless, so he can start getting those big bolo uppercuts in, and the big left that comes over the big left hook.
Yeah.
So I guess it's the thing, can Khabib get the takedowns in, or is Conor going to be able to cleverly open up Khabib's guard to be able to get those big shots in? But Khabib has been hit with some crazy shots in that fight against Edson Barboza. Edson Barboza cracking him with massive spinning heel kicks, and Khabib was just beating them.
But the one thing I did notice, though, this is the point I would make on the Barboza when he hit him with a spinning heel kick, or a spinning hook kick. He didn't catch him with the heel, though. He caught him with the calf, and you could see all that energy dissipate through Khabib's body and move him to the side. So for me, that wasn't obviously he's got a hell of a chin, but that wasn't a full endorsement, because I believe if he'd landed with the heel, I think that Khabib would have really struggled with that. Even though, but so that's interesting. But then also two things I would like to get your opinion on these. With Khabib, that obviously, there's not a fighter in existence who's never been hit. Every fighter is going to get hit. Even the most defensive fighters in history have always been hit. You're going to get caught. But with Khabib, he is susceptible to taking shots from good strikers and being kind of puzzled with angles. So, and that's something that McGregor excels in. So, do you think that'll be a factor in the fight where, McGregor's movement is going to trouble Khabib, and Khabib is, in a sense susceptible? And when I say susceptible, I mean at highest level susceptibility, to being hit.
Yeah, well, I think Khabib's actually fought some really good guys, though. And he's absolutely worn them down, like some really high-level strikers.
Yeah.
I need to just double-check because I don't want to make any mistakes here. Yeah, so he fought.
I make mistakes every night, Chris. Every episode.
He fought Raphael. Took him to a decision. Michael Johnson.
Yeah.
He submitted him with a Kimura. Edson Barboza. That was a terrible fight to watch. He absolutely beat But he did the same with. He's done the same with everybody, with Michael Johnson, with Edson Barboza.
Yeah.
He dragged them to the ground and beat them to within an inch of their life while he was talking to Dana White.
Yeah.
So these guys. Sorry, what are you saying?
I'm just saying, Chris, it was a good fight. That I've watched it a few times as well. Yeah.
It's different. You can see in their eyes though. You can see when there's a difference when Khabib drags you to the ground and ties you up with that leg triangle. He uses like a leg triangle to pin your thighs together, and then he uses his hands and just drags you over to the cage, so there's nowhere to go, and he just beats you to not to finish the fight, but so he can have a conversation with Dana White. That is terrifying, and these are high level, like top ranked guys. So. He's definitely tough.
Yeah.
But does Connor have the magic in his hands enough to be able to put a Russian away? And we know Russians are a different kind of white person. They're made of something different.
Yeah, there's no doubt of that. They're raised hard, born hard, raised hard, and walk hard, without a doubt. I'm going to patent that. I think, Cliff, did you say you want to ask Chris a question? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Chris, can you hear us from here?
Yes, I can.
Oh, right, brilliant. I'm just wanting to know your thoughts on in the press conference. Do you think Conor McGregor is a bit more angrier than he would normally be, or do you think it's just tactics, or do you think Khabib has actually riled him up that he wants to come back after 2 years and really beat this guy, or is it all just promotion from?
Okay, so yeah, that's a really good question. Actually, this is something I've thought about because the press conferences actually really interest me. I'm a very big believer in the art of war. I don't know if you're familiar with Miyamoto Musashi, who he was a samurai between the 16 to 1700s, who was your first original trash talker and strategist from the ninja and samurai sense. But what he did was he would arrange one-on-one fights with people. He killed 62 people in one-on-one fights. But what he would do would be, he would say, "Okay, James, I will fight you tomorrow at noon," and then you'd turn up at midnight. And so you'd be sitting about for 12 hours waiting for this guy to show up, and he'd say, "Okay, let's go." And he would call you out in the middle of your village to fight, primed and ready, and catch you on the back foot. And he did this with a lot of people. He would maybe not show up for a month, but he would badmouth the person, so they would come out really angry. My next point is, this is what Conor McGregor does. This is all part of his strategy. I think another point I want to make, though, is when he was on the press tour with Mayweather, Conor McGregor never got the memo that the press conference he was going to have was completely different from the way the UFC do it. The UFC do it where everyone's sitting behind the safety of a table. You've got Dana White in between the two of you. You say your bit, the press ask you a question, you answer back, and that's the way it goes. And it's a very safe place for Conor to be. Then when he was on the Mayweather tour, they flipped it on him, and all of a sudden he was standing on stage with a microphone. And he handled it like a machine. He did it in, 6 times? He absolutely commandeered the microphone for an hour at a time and destroyed Mayweather on the microphone. And it looks like they flipped the script on him with this press conference because it appears that he was under the impression that a crowd were going to be there. And he turned up and said, "Where's the crowd?" And Dana said we couldn't do it because of safety reasons. And he was pissed off because you could hear in his voice, he was probably quite angry at Dana, and he was obviously pissed off at Khabib because part of his strategy is getting the fans behind him. So it's not just Conor, it's the fans as well that are part of his tool. So he had to just do it all himself. You could hear in his voice was quivering at points, and I think that's why he had to pop open his own whiskey. You not think so?
Yeah, I think
it's interesting. I mean, I watched that press conference, and I don't know what to say. I mean, that's just the way Conor McGregor is, isn't it? I mean, he's not putting that on, I wouldn't think. It likely is a tactic, but I think it's also part and parcel of who he is as a person. And I didn't know the details about there not being a crowd. I think Khabib I think the best way to deal with McGregor is to just be as calm and composed as you possibly can. So just briefly touching on Floyd Mayweather. I mean, he was, later on in his career, he was like the trash talker. And I remember when he fought one of my favorite fighters of all time, Oscar De La Hoya, and Mayweather was there, was talking and bad-mouthing De La Hoya, and then he pulled his shirt up, Mayweather, and took his shirt off and showed his abs. Now, De La Hoya stood there nose to nose trying to argue back and then took off his shirt. And to be quite honest, that was completely the wrong move because it made De La Hoya look rather silly and amateurish. He'd been better off just sitting there, cool and composed, smiling. And I just felt, that was a bad move for De La Hoya. So I think Khabib handled it in the right way. Because I think if you go toe to toe with McGregor, unless you really believe in yourself more than he does, it's not good for you.
Absolutely. Well, look at Conor McGregor. Look at the weapons he has. He's an amazing striker, and he's an amazing strategist, and he's an amazing talker. Those are his weapons. So if you cannot outstrike him, and you know that you can't out-talk him, why would you try? And you're absolutely right. You should probably just keep quiet and be humble and not take it personally and let it wash over you, because Conor didn't just talk trash at him. Conor went personal.
Yeah, he did.
He did his research. So he went in there with a strategy to try and destroy Khabib's mind and his camp mind. And I remember it was Joanna Jędrzejczyk. It was when she was fighting Rose Namajunas. Yeah. Rose Namajunas didn't say anything because she could not compete with the intensity and things that Joanna Jędrzejczyk was saying. And Joanna realised that it wasn't affecting her because Rose Namajunas, whenever they were face to face, Rose Namajunas would say the Lord's Prayer to herself.
The boogie woman.
Yeah, and what happened was, Joanna said to Rose, "Did you get the tickets?" Like, she changed tactics. She said, "Did you get the tickets? Have your team got the tickets?" And Rose was turning around going, "What tickets is she talking about? What was she talking about?" And that bothered her for a full night. She didn't know what were the tickets meant. So it's like these tiny little things. So even though she knew she couldn't compete with her in a trash talking sense, and just saying the Lord's Prayer, she could get through that. She asked her a question, and that question was just this little seeded out. So Conor McGregor went in there strategically to completely destroy not only Khabib, but his whole team as well, and get his country to turn against them. That's amazing. It
is. It can work in reverse. I remember just quickly, like one of the eliminators for the I think my second IKF world title against Bill Jardine. And when I went over and I started to read kind of about him, and he was a ex-USA boxing champion and All-American wrestling champion, and all these things that he'd done, and it said his height, he was 6'3", and I was reading all this, and I was kind of like, it was throwing me off my game. I was thinking, Jesus Christ, this guy's better than I thought. I knew he'd knocked this high-level fighter out in a round. But then when I met him, he was only about, he wasn't 6'3", he was only about 6'1.5", and that really angered me, and that actually like that really motivated me to want to really go out there and, to be quite honest, destroy him in a competitive sense, because he'd lied about his height. So I don't know if that was psychology, but it can also work in reverse,
Yeah, it means you can. Well, that's what happened with Jose Aldo against Conor. I mean, that was like 2 years in the making, that fight, and Jose just ran out swinging like a maniac, and Conor just caught him with that counter left and knocked him clean out. So it worked in reverse for Jose Aldo. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, can Khabib just like use that as fuel to just take him up that extra notch, or will it make him a crazy man that's going to start throwing punches? I don't think so. And you were saying about him offering Khabib alcohol as well. Khabib's a Muslim, and I don't know if he did that to try and piss him off, but it's going to be an amazing. It's not just an event, a spectacle, because the whole card is absolutely fabulous as well.
It is, yeah. There's a great undercard in there. It'd be nice to see Barboza come back as well. Chris, I'm just getting this. I'm just getting a signal from backstage. We're running short of time, so we're gonna have to wrap this up. But I want to say thank you very much, sincerely, my friend, for phoning in. Thank you for supporting the show. I'm gonna speak to you personally, hopefully over the next 2 or 3 days, and we'll catch up, and hopefully we'll meet up again soon for some training and coffee and Miami hustle.
Yes, Chris likes this. Right, guys.
Great
Keep
stuff.
up the good work. I'll catch you later.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks,
Take
Chris.
care. See you soon.
Take care, bro.
Bye bye. Okay, guys, great little conversation there. So we're gonna swiftly move on because we're running short of time on the show. Only about 15 minutes to go. So we're going to talk, just run through. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to be a bit strategic here because I don't want to rush through things. So it may be a case that we're going to have to. I think.
In case.
Yeah, I'm just looking at whether or not we leave some things for next show, but. We'll stay with where we are then. We'll stay with where we are. So the next, I just want to talk a little about Incase. Oh, sorry, I've already talked about Incase. Now I need to actually. We've established this. So Incase are a high level baggage brand, and they were very kind enough to become a partner. So they're supporting us at Peep, and they sent us some great items and cases over. So one of these items was in fact a Sport Field, a limited edition Sport Field bag, which I'm just going to reach to my left and pick up. So Incase were kind enough, I'm going to throw this up here. Incase were thank you, Scott. Big thank you to my co-host and good friend Scott Illingworth, who's with us at Peep, the second show. Who's presenting? What's it called when the magicians have the kind of, I don't know, like a assistant? Yeah, just a fashion on the brand. So the Incase Sport Field bag, amazing that they'd sent this to Peep, and Cliff was our CEO. Was kind enough to give this to myself. I've used it. Now the thing is, when I get something new, especially when it's something as lovely as this is, I don't like using it. And I would rarely use it. And I'd use my old animal bag that had holes in it and ripped and horrible. Well, I've officially thrown the animal bag out, and this is now my number one usage kind of carrier bag for many different things. So it's fantastic. Now, I use it for training gear. I mean, it is essentially a gym bag, and I'm not going to go through all the features. If you want to see all the features and get more information, we've actually done a small, what would you say, video on the bag, which you can find on peeplive. We've actually taken it out into the city. There's some nice footage there. Into the gym, you can actually see all the different compartments and the pockets, etc. But it's tremendous. I mean, not only does it look beautiful, it's so kind of minimalistic, but very, very functional. In black, of course, which is the best color to be. It's a very strong. I've had this for about 6 months, and as I haven't used it tremendously, but I have over the last, I would say, 2 or 3 weeks, really put it through its paces. There's not a mark on it. The zips themselves are very, very high quality, so you can actually see that it's stitched and manufactured to the highest standards. One thing that really surprised me is just how light the bag is when you pick it up. It's a very, very light functional bag. It's a nylon construction. I'm not going to start going through it. It does have also a forks for lining, which is on the side because it's got a compartment here, a padded compartment you can put your PC, your laptop rather in, not your whole PC probably, but nowadays you're probably good. For your laptop, it has a separate compartment at the bottom to put your trainers in, which kind of expands out as well, so you can put your smelly trainers in the bottom. And it's also got a front zip. I said I wasn't going to do this, but now I'm going to have to do this. It's got these lovely compartments for your phone. It's got a separate zip compartment. Can you feel in there? Ooh, isn't that lovely?
Yeah, that's a full first. That's delightful. Yeah,
that's fake fits. No real foxes in there. So it's been tremendous. I mean, it's as I say. I mean, it's the other thing as well. I think Cliff, when we bought this, we went for the larger size. So it's surprising. A limited edition. It's surprising how much limited edition. It's surprising how much space there is in here. It's so. I think the main point is it looks fantastic. It's solid construction. It can hold a 15-inch Mac in the back there. It's very, very light as well.
No, it is light, yeah.
And it's incredibly comfortable to wear, and it just looks fantastic. So we've got to say to Incase, I mean, it's the best backpack I've ever had, without a doubt. Now, I have to say that when I'm on holiday, I will sometimes take it with me. I do like to use my night bag just because it's sits, like a flat top sports bag,
yep.
So I can section stuff off. But for this, everything goes in. But I'll tell you what, you can layer off. You can have shower gear, gym gear, street gear here. You can have your trainers sitting on the top. It's incredible. I mean, it really is a tremendous piece of kit. Now, it's not cheap.
I was going to say, is it worth the price tag?
You're going to ask me right now. Yeah. It's £268.06. And very grateful to Incase, very grateful to Cliff. It's an absolute wonder. It's moisture and it's odor resistant. If you actually go onto the web, I don't know if we can put these details into the description. Would it be too much putting our description on this run?
Put a link to the.
But there's but there's information
on the video that we did.
We can put it on there.
There's a description on the
Fantastic. Well, if you want to find out more, if you go onto the video, if you just scroll down, is it under the subsection SINTAX or is it just under PEEP? It's in SINTAX. If you go onto SINTAX on PEEP, if you scroll onto, I think it's world champion bag use or something like that, or
Incase Sport Field bag, world champion kickboxer.
That's it. Yeah, Incase Sport Field bag, Deontay Vladimir Wilder, and all the Petite Deontay. What's the other guy? Fionte Deontay Podvetkin. That's it. Yeah. And if you actually go on there, and all the descriptions in there, but we have to say that the Incase bag, it's a tremendous piece of kit. Highly recommend it to you guys out there who can get hold of one. You don't have to go for the limited edition. You could go for the smaller size, but definitely if you want something that's high quality and you're prepared to pay, premium price for it, it is, a step more than above, your Slazenger backpacks, and nothing wrong with Slazenger. So thanks, Incase.
You can actually buy that bag at www.incase.eu.
www.incase.eu. The first thing I did when Clifford gave me that bag, I'd gone on to just typed it in and it came up. I think it was House of Fraser that are selling them. So they're not in liquidation now, are they?
They are.
They are in liquidation. Well, no longer are they selling it. And obviously God bless all the staff. Hope they move on to greater and better things. But so thank you to Incase. So we're going to move on to now. I'm assuming we'll move on to this. It's just a discussion of what we've filmed, right? So I'm going to turn over to Scott here, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about a new episode, new series, and a new kind of interest that we have over at Peep, something called Trade Routes.
Yeah, I think we talked about a little bit about it last live show, if I remember correctly. Basically, it's looking at the passion and the reasons, the influences of various businesses. And to kickstart the series, I thought, well, why not just do ourselves? So the first one's up. Cliff is taking the show on that one. Really, to be honest, it's all about Cliff's history. It's a great watching, and I think it's
search history.
Not search history, fortunately. Yeah. And you'll find out all about Cliff and his past and how he ended up at Peep HQ. Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely. I mean, Trade Routes, as I say, it's a new, I'm calling it a section. Can I call it a new section
it's
on
People? Playlist.
Thank you. And bringing out my 80s old schoolness there. a new playlist. So it's a new mixtape.
Yeah.
Remember Monty Python? No, not the curtains. No, nobody else. Okay. And the Holy Grail? Anybody?
Yeah.
Holy Grail. Life of Brian. So it's a new playlist that we have on Trade Routes, and essentially what we've started with people. What we will be doing is going to local businesses. We'll be talking a little bit with their founders about how, what brought them into creating the business, what their interests were, what their passions are, what they've learned from the business. Not so much what mistakes they've made, because mistake is an integral part of creating anything successful.
No, yes.
But what they've learned along the way, how the business runs, a little bit of behind the scenes footage. So we're going to be researching various different businesses in Newcastle on the Quay side, and perhaps get up to Durham way. It'll just be an interesting kind of open book, so to speak, especially for those out there interested in starting their own business or companies. So we started with Peep Magazine, talking a little bit about obviously Cliff, who's our lead figure, the co-creator of Peep, who's sitting to my right here, a tremendously talented gentleman who brought in. I do apologise the name of the book that you.
Kinky Blue.
Kinky Blue, which just to me that was like an amalgamation of all those kind of. It's called. Is it crack and the crack. And what's the other the books that are out? Kind of the free books that come in at all the coffee shops and clubs and bars, and there's loads of them out there that are telling you all about culture and these and a lot of them I pick up specifically to keep. And I tell you, looking at that, I was like, whoa, this is. this is the origin. This man
Crack was first, and there was also Paint It Red. And
right. Well, I'll tell you. Well, I was looking at that and some of the ideas that you had when you interviewing people on the street about clothing. I mean, that stuff like some high-end magazines have done things like that, and I'm reading that, and I love the bit. Is it called Captured or Caught? Caught, where you're taking photos just on a. We didn't have cameras on phones then, kids.
We didn't.
Just you had a camera, you're taking pictures and putting them up, and I mean, appropriate and just I love that. That was there's a pretty girl, one or two in a appropriately framed. That's lovely to see. That's going to draw us into it, but fantastic. And then aside to that, I'm discovering things that Cliff had written his own graphic novel. I'm a big graphic novel fan. So you guys, multi-talented gentlemen I'm with here. So we had a round table sit, and we're interviewing one at a time and talking a little bit about our background, our history, and how we became involved in PEEP. Obviously, Cliff was first as our international man of mystery. We've got the gentleman on the right who'll be second. His will be put out there as a co-founder of PEEP and a very talented man and a triathlete who I discovered today as he ran past me on the quayside, and I recognised, who's that guy there? That in shape athlete, and it's my friend Mr. Illingworth here, and we'll talk. I'd like to talk to you on another show, not tonight, because we want to keep this tight about your triathlete experience. And then mine will come out there as well. My
saving the best to last.
Best to last. Thank you. So part 3 will be out, and that'll be myself talking a little bit about my history. So trade routes. So keep a look out for that on our playlist.
Cliff's is out now, so
absolutely. Cliff's is out now. Get on there. Get it viewed. View it some more. View it some more again.
Absolutely.
And let us know what you think. It's so important that you do. So we're kind of coming down now towards, I would say, the last small section of our show. There is a competition we are running, and the competition is this. Once we get to 2,000 subscribers, we're going to randomly pick a subscriber. Please make sure when you subscribe, your subscription is public.
Yep, that's correct.
And then we're going to select a random subscriber. A random subscriber, and we're going to give them these gifts. So we have a whole selection of boxing training equipment. We have some paddles, we have some tough wear wraps, and we have some of the hand wraps and bandages as well. So we're going to randomly select from once we hit the 2,000 subscribers. So we're not going to do the 1 30-minute mark, but we're going to tighten it up.
Big shout out to Kieran Kane.
Kieran Kane, is he on there now? Is he?
He's not, but I think you'll be watching.
Right, Kieran, big shout out. It's great to have seen you, have met you. We're going to come down again to Spending More Sports, I think, at some point, just do a bit of a re-up there. It might be worth doing it when there's an event that's nearby, so we can kind of tie it on with a few things. But it was lovely to meet Kieran. And remember, Spending More Sports are your number one boxing specialist in the Northeast. Buy things online for sure, but why not go buy them on there? Speak to Kieran, and he can give you expert advice. You're also getting free advice and the best equipment at the same price. So we're going to now move on to PEEPXS. Now, myself and Scott, we talked about it. I think it was actually Scott who suggested it. I'm a fan of Jordan Peterson, Jordan B. Peterson, who's a philosopher, a writer, a professor, a leading part of what's called the intellectual dark web, along with Ben Shapiro, Sam Harris, and others. He's basically come into notoriety due to his refusal to, I think it was Section 16, was it Act 16, something similar, which was compelling speech, essentially, in Canada, that you had to refer to people of gender types by their preference, and he refused to do that by law, with the simple idea that he will refuse for his speech to be compelled, because where that leads to, he's talking about Maoism and Nazism and horrors beyond recognition. So he's kind of a champion, I would say, for I don't want to say moral values or societal values, and the idea that he basically promotes is that we should speak truth. We should conduct ourselves with truthful speech as much as we possibly can as fallible human beings. That we should rise ourselves to become the best versions of ourselves, to help in a position to then rise the family around us, to rise our friends, to rise our community, and then perhaps the whole world could change for the better. And that's essentially what his message is, at least from my perspective. Just very briefly, he has 1.4, I think it's 1.4 now million subscribers on YouTube. I've watched all his what would you call them, lecture streamed videos that he has on his YouTube site. His Maps of Meaning, which is taught in colleges. I think predominantly was at which Canadian college was he based at? I can't believe I've forgotten. I believe he taught at Harvard for a short period of time. Maps of meaning, his personality profiles. He's also done biblical lectures, which are incredibly interesting. He's covered Genesis, talking about the Bible, and what even if you don't have, and I don't like using the word religious, but even if you don't have a religious belief set, that what analogies, I suppose, could you take from that? What lessons could you draw from the Bible, rather than just writing it off as fantasy, if you don't believe it to be literal truth. Certainly it must have some kind of truth, with it being 2,000 years plus old, and how much strength, how many people have read it. It's the most popular book in the world, all the churches, everything that was brought from that. So there's got to be something more than just casting it off as fantasy. So that's a little bit of background of Jordan Peterson. So what we'd suggested, so I'd wanted to do a little cover of the book, but what Scott had suggested is that what we in fact will do is kind of do a small overview of a chapter in each, each chapter, each show. Now, we did chapter 1 last week, so this week we're going to talk a little bit about chapter 2. So this was one of the best-selling books on Amazon for a brief period. It's called The 12 Rules of Life, An Antidote to Chaos by Mr. Jordan B. Peterson. Oh, yeah, can we get that on?
It was also a New York...
At an angle, because it's... Yeah.
It was also a New York Times bestseller, but they banned it.
That's right. Well, they towards you or towards me? Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. It was a New York Times bestseller. That's right. But they banned it on certain not principles, but kind of rules that they had, which actually didn't match up. And I can't remember the ins and outs.
No, I can't remember the ins and outs.
But yeah, it was like a not a legal loophole, but some kind of structural loophole that they had for how they can rate books. Yeah. And apparently it didn't meet up to that. But I'm sure they'd overturned that. Had they? Or perhaps I hadn't. But I
don't know.
But certainly that you're absolutely right. So, chapter 2, we're going to spend just a very short period of. What me and Scott had decided to do, we hadn't told Cliff, but we're actually going to have a new section on Peep called Story Time.
Yeah.
And we're going to read a full book on each show.
So now we've got about 60 pages to read.
Yeah. Well, let me
we'll take a page each.
And we'll read it out. It's story time. Yeah. So it's about 420 pages, not including the... No. So what we're going to do is we're going to just give you a brief synopsis, I suppose, of the chapter. So chapter 2, or should I say rule 2, because it's the 12 rules of life, is called Treat Yourself Like Someone You're Responsible for Helping.
It's fine. I'm just giving you the time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now... This is my interpretation of it, and then I'll be interested to hear what Scott's. And then I'm going to very briefly just read some small segments from it, which are just very small. So the idea behind it, Jordan leads off with this, that most people fail to take medication that's life-saving medication if it's prescribed to them. With the idea being that, say for example, you'd had some like a transplant and you were given medication to allow you to kind of survive that and to continue your life, in a relatively normal fashion, that the majority of people will not take their medication, and not be just because they forget to take the medication, but they just don't take it. And he questions and says, why would we do that? As why would human beings, when they're given something to take that's going to grant them extended life, not take it? But then he parallels that with the idea that when the same people are given medication to give to their cat, for example, or their dog, they will religiously give their cat or dog their medication, yet fail to give themselves their own life-saving medication. And I think the point he's making for that is that we have such a sense of self-loathing as human beings. How can we overcome that? How do we progress past that? Because once the self-loathing reaches a certain level, you then export that out to other people, and then you become malicious and vicious and uncaring, and and then you lie and cheat and steal, and all these things kind of excel. So that's the idea behind it. So how do we overcome this kind of inherent darkness within each of us as human beings and strive to something more purposeful? Scott, your interpretation, or leading from there?
It is that whole element of why, as individuals, we'll not take care of ourselves, as you've just said there, really, James. Why is that? And there's something inherent through history that people don't feel worthwhile through whatever reasons it may be that through a shared history, through that being through societal norms, and how best to overcome that is down to the individual to a certain extent, and taking responsibility for oneself.
Absolutely, and that's the key point, isn't it? Is that taking responsibility. So how can we kind of turn this around and become greater versions of ourselves? And you know, Jordan, without getting too wax lyrical, because we want to keep each kind of rule almost within its own entirety, that, you know, taking personal responsibility and recognizing yourself as an individual, and without getting too deep into that, you know, how does some people manage to kind of, in a sense, take hold of that, yet some people struggle and suffer more. But the fundamental point is that how do we then self-care? How do we self-care? And how does that self-care then raise us and rise us up? So, you know, I had a bullet point here that, you know, apply truthful speech, which is what what Jordan talks about, Mr. Peterson talks about, Jordan Peterson talks about, to stumble forward and to aim up. That we're not going to get it right every time, but that if we can just move forward just one step at a time, that we can become a greater version of ourselves. And that's kind of I suppose the idea of this chapter is, why do we struggle with that within our own selves? You know, other people to one side. Where does this come from, and how do we cope with that? So, do you mind now if I just pick out a few sections that I've marked from here? So the first read I've got is this, which is really kind of highlighting this what we're talking about, and this is it. Perhaps man is something, and so I'm just reading directly from the book here, from Jordan Peterson's writings. Perhaps man is something that should never have been. Perhaps the world should even be cleansed of all human presence, so that being and consciousness could return to the innocent brutality of the animal, with the idea being, and this is now, I'm now waxing lyrical myself, that perhaps one of the reasons, what we talk about in the book, that we treat our animals and our pets, is that we don't recognize like inherent cruelty within animals, that if an animal kills somebody, like if a shark, God forbids, kills somebody, it's not doing it through intent and through through hatred and through you know, as I say, with intent. It's doing it because it mistakes it for a seal. It's doing it because it's hungry. It's not doing it with vicious intent and maliciousness. That's the word I'm looking for. And perhaps that's why we can forgive animals and care for them so much, because we don't recognize that malicious intent in animals that we do in others. Because once you know, and this is quote unquote Jordan Peterson, once you know how you can be hurt both physically and emotionally, then you know how to hurt somebody else physically and emotionally. So I'm going to, set me off. So that being and consciousness could return to the innocent brutality of the animal. I believe that the person who claims never to have wished for such a thing has neither consulted his memory nor confronted his darkest fantasies. So what then is to be done? Okay, that's a good question. If I can find it. Yes. So I'm going to read a quote here from, I believe it's T.S. Eliot. And I'm only going to read a small part of this. So this is perhaps something that could be done. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all of our exploring, and this is the important part, will be to arrive where we started and to know that place for the first time. Through the unknown remembered gate, when the last of earth is left to discover, is that which was the beginning, at the source of the longest river, the voice of the hidden waterfall, and the children in the apple tree. So make of that as you will. And just to kind of finish that off and just to get our final thoughts on it, and perhaps this is a solution. You must determine where you are going so that you can bargain for yourself, so you don't end up resentful, vengeful, and cruel. You have to articulate your own principles so you can defend against others' actions, taking inappropriate advantage of you, and you are secure and safe while you work and play. You must discipline yourself carefully. You must keep the promises you make to yourself and reward yourself so you can trust and motivate yourself. You need to determine how to act toward yourself so you are the most likely to become and to stay a good person. It would be good to make the world a better place. Heaven, after all, will not arrive of its own accord. We will have to work to bring it about and strengthen ourselves so we can understand the deadly angels and flaming sword of judgment that God used to bar the entrance. And I'm going to finish with this. As the great 19th century German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, see that pronunciation there? So brilliantly noted. And I'm going to finish with this, unless Scott wants to add some final thoughts. Okay. He whose life has a why can bear almost anyhow. That's it.
Yeah, that's fantastic, yeah.
Brilliant.
Have you anything to add to that, Scott?
No,
Yes.
I just think Jack and Ori's going to be calling any moment soon. But
I'm all up for a Jack and Ori too. So that's Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules of Life, an Antidote to Chaos. And next chapter, next week, we'll be reading from chapter 3, Rule 3.
That's next month, by the way.
Next month.
Yeah.
Sorry, next month. Well, you had me all Jack and Ori'd up, so I was on the Jack and Ori tip.
Yeah.
Just to give everybody a pre-up. Rule 3, make friends with people who want the best for you.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Right then, I'm going to turn over to my good friend Scott for issue.
Yep. So me and Cliff have been beavering away over our laptops and MacBooks and whatever, and we have got everything pretty much sorted out. It's not quite out yet, quite ready to go as I thought it would be, but next week the new improved Peep magazine will be available on issue.com. Basically it's called Tokyo 16 is the name of this compendium of works, and if you go over to Issue you can get a single copy for £3, and we do have a subscription available for £10, and that's basically 4 magazines which will be coming out quarterly. I think that's it. Unless you want anything to add, Cliff?
Yeah, the magazine is complete. We're holding it back because we've got a couple of extra videos that are going to be exclusive to the magazine. If anyone can't hear me, just read.
Yeah, so we're going to have some exclusive content within the magazine, which is we're just putting the finishing touches to.
Yeah, and then it will be live
Next week. So it'll definitely be available at the very latest next Friday.
And I'd just like to take this opportunity also to thank Issue for giving us a platform.
And that's Daniel from Issue, isn't it?
Daniel from Issue for giving Peep Magazine a platform to showcase our work, our thoughts, talent, whatever. And it will be showcasing on Apple News.
Have they confirmed anything on Apple News as yet?
It's going to go on Apple News as soon as the magazine goes live.
Keep tuned to Apple News then.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So that's another move forward there for Peep with Issue, the online magazine, available soon to
Next
download
week.
and
read. Yeah.
Read it on. Yeah.
Read online. Download.
Download it as a PDF. You can
Read online. Flick
So
through it.
brilliant! I cannot wait to read that. So we're going to move on to our last section, and it's a little bit of again. We're gonna point onto SINTAX. I believe this is on SINTAX. Our good friend and master of Peep, Cliff Sainsbury, went out to film a small documentary called Neo Expressionism. Filmed another documentary, and it's on our SINTAX playlist, kids. That's the way forward. John, the Neo Expressionist artist based in Newcastle on Tyne, who draws his inspirations from Jean-Michel Basquiat
and Basquiat.
Jackson Pollock.
It's Basquiat.
So we're gonna talk about. So I know what I like. I know what I hate. Put it that way. Now I went to which art place did I go to? I'm such a Philistine. I do love my art. It was Heaven and Hell. What's the art gallery? The Lang Gallery. I had this exhibition on called Heaven and Hell. I can't remember the artist's name, but it was very kind of like big open scenes that he would paint, and there was like castles in the back, a lot of foreground and background, and beautiful art. You can get lost in. I'm a member of. Can we just do a little? What would you call it? Not post. What would you call it?
Shout out.
Shout. Yeah, shout. But like
plug.
What would you call it? Like a plug. A plug for National Trust. I'm a member of the National Trust.
Good on you, James.
And I love the National Trust. It's part of it's as English as British and English as you get.
John Martin, the artist.
John Martin.
Heaven and Hell.
Heaven and Hell. Thank you. Heaven and Hell. I'm a fan of National Trust, And they've got some tremendous pieces of arts in those, and I love going to see those, the architecture of the buildings, you know, the old buildings, kind of the manors, etc. Took my daughter there not long ago. There was a lovely exhibition on, I can't remember where we were. It was a National Trust site over near Dunsforth, over Boroughbridge Way, and I love that. And I do enjoy art and sitting and seeing that. And John Martin was the name of the artist who did the Heaven and Hell, and that's really my bag. You know, the Baltic's a beautiful place, and we've actually filmed there. Shout out to the Baltic. But I'm not into contemporary art. It's never been my thing. But Lindsay Robinson was very much into that type of art, and it was never my thing. So we would kind of go along to the Baltic. I was like, yeah, I'll come along, and I'd kind of be a little bit of a devil's advocate. I think sometimes just kind of, you know, throwing out the way I felt about with my unconscious bias towards it. So, but I can appreciate it. I will say that. So anyway, so Cliff had asked me for research purposes to watch this. Now, when I first put it up, I watched it on, as I say, it's on SINTAX. When it come on, I thought, my initial thought is, and I wasn't being prejudiced towards the art itself, was, I don't think I'm going to like this. Because it just seemed a little bit all over to start with. And then some of the editing came up, and straight away I thought, yeah, that's Cliff's editing, because that's high level, right? Because you flick to kind of one of the pictures that he'd done, or one of the artists that he was kind of inspired by. So that kind of drew my attention, because I started to watch it. I lost a little, because I was, and that came up, and I was like, and the sound as well. So when it comes to editing and sound, and the way that you cut things and your production values, that caught me back, and I started watching it. And I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I really did. I thought it was hilarious. You were interviewing him brilliantly. I thought he was great. I got endeared to him. It was. I loved it. I'm smiling because I wanted to tell you when I came in, but honestly, I thought it was. No, I'm gonna.
Cliff was highly worried.
I'm gonna speak my truth. If I didn't like it, I would just say, you know, I wouldn't go out to hurt anybody's feelings, but I would just say, look, it wasn't really my thing, but this is a positive. The cutting drew me straight away. When I saw that cut, the first cut you did to the chap with the beard, I don't know if it was John or the art he'd done. Yeah. So I got drawn into it. I looked, right, okay. And then, because my first thought was like, oh, maybe I should have come and done the interview we could have done. And Cliff, you were absolutely brilliant. It was fantastic. It was witty. It was funny. It was so well edited, which I've said before. I endeared myself to John. You asked the right questions. You took the interview in the right way for me. And I just thought it was brilliant, and I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, if you asked me questions about separate bits, I wouldn't be able to name the artist who was referencing, etc. It's not my thing. But I thought it was, and I really recommend to all the viewers to go out. You know, even if you're not interested, you have no interest in that type of art, and expressionist art, or what was it called at the Baltic? Sorry, like contemporary art. Contemporary art, yeah. Watch it, because it's great. It's good. I like the bit when because when he goes, I'll buy that painting, and I thought he was going to say like maybe 50 quid or something, and he's like, and I'm not being disparaging, because let's be honest, right? You know, the artist who dies poor, you can pick them off the tree. They're all over. I mean, it's very hard to make money from art. I mean, I think it's probably more so than acting, right? You know, to be an accomplished artist, to make money for your art, it's very hard to do. And then when he said, you know, call me, it's be worth 50 grand. But you know what? Things are worth what people will pay. Now, whether or not you like, who's a really famous contemporary artist who has the shark in the barrel or whatever? I'm not just... Hurst, yeah?
Damon Hurst.
Now, like it or not, it's not my kind of thing. I understand where he's going. And I'm being slightly disparaging, not to him, but, you know, to contemporary art that, you know, contemporary, whatever. It's more than that. I understand that. Maybe I just don't appreciate it. Or you know, having a grape and sprinkling it with sugar and everybody go and see that. So art is what it is to the individual. But yeah, the piece itself was fantastic, and I enjoyed it. Anyway, Scott, I'm stealing your thunder.
No, it's fine. Yeah, yeah. I think. Well, it's the way that's been done is actually Cliff's more the lead character than the subject of John. Because he's kind of leading everyone through it, and he's kind of sharing those frustrations as a viewer. You're just like, just give us some information about your art, and you can hear that coming through from Cliff when he's kind of being a bit reticent about talking about his own work. But at the same point, I just think it's a look into the mind of someone who's creative yet chaotic, but has massive amounts of talent. And I just think that's the film kind of puts you in that same situation as John's mindset almost to a certain extent, which I just think is fantastic. And it's been done really well. And yeah, I think anyone who just watch it. Switch off after 5 minutes if you don't enjoy it. But it's
you won't be able to.
No, it is. So it is.
You won't, because that first edit, the production, Cliff, that first edit that you do just draws you into it straight away. And the way, sorry, you made a valid point. It's like you become. I read this book called Looking for a Fight about this kind of a journalist who wanted to have a pro fight, and he trained for it. He trained at, it wasn't Ingalls, but I can't remember which gym it was. Anyway, the point I'm getting to is, and the book was written in such a way you felt you were sitting in the bed next to me as he was writing it and talking about, where the book, there was a small kind of room in this council, kind of this small council house, which is, I'm not being disparaging, I'm just saying where it was. It was in Sheffield. So the trainer in Sheffield, it was Clinton Woods' trainer. That was who it was. And it was that kind of video. You felt you were sitting in the room with him. And like I said, the interview style was done so well with Cliff. It was humorous. It was funny, but also it was engaging. John came across really well. You kind of, as you said, saw into the mind of kind of a chaotic artist, and if he wasn't chaotic, he wouldn't be an artist. I wouldn't imagine, or the type of artist that he is. When he did the Cat Stevens, I quite like Cat Stevens, and I was like, well,
If you hear what he was playing, he was saying about 3 or 4 things in one song.
Yeah.
He was actually singing about Cat Stevens, but it wasn't a Cat Stevens tune. But the way he was singing it was a Cat Stevens tune. Yeah,
that's right.
That
made it did it. It was almost a tune of one of his.
Yeah, it was about 3 4 references in one song.
Yeah, he's a clever guy, but I mean that's the point I was making. I think once you turn it on, you're gonna watch it, and again, just if I can just make this point that we at Peep love our combat news, and we are a combat. Sorry, let me rephrase that. We are part combat channel.
Yep.
But we are combat. We are lifestyle. We are art.
Yep.
We are music. We are film. Not so much history, I don't think. We are literature.
Yep.
So and this just expands into other areas that we're looking at, other than just our kind of. I don't want to say bread and butter, but our kind of, I don't want to say our heart, but our
core.
Yeah, our core. I suppose our core, is the combat. But this is just a look into other parts that are out there. So for fighters who are watching, have a look at it. Introduce yourself to other things. We've got Barter Books on there now. We have this Neo Expressionist, and I should announce, if you don't mind not changing the subject, that we are going to be on our next SINTAX. We're going to be going out and visiting the Tyne side cinema to cover a little bit about their history, perhaps go and watch a film, talk to some of the experts there, and introduce people to the history of film and cinema.
Excellent. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So, yep.
If anyone wants to watch that mini documentary, though, it's on the playlist.
It's on the playlist. So if you can look at John Neo Expressionism on the playlist, on the video, on the playlist, on the YouTube channel under SINTAX. Under SINTAX,
that's
and
the
you can watch
second playlist, isn't it?
Second playlist.
Top of the second playlist.
So that's it. And subscribe. So I just want to finish off just by saying thank you for joining us tonight. Absolutely check out the Neo Expressionism playlist. Please have a look at the Incase bag kind of mini really review that we put out there. Really good. You might want to check out that Barter Books SINTAX that we did as well.
You've got to check that out, James. Yeah.
You have to check out Barter Books. High five for the Barter Books. Our man Scott here. We're going to be going out on some trade routes. You can check out our first trade routes with Cliff here.
Is the next one coming out next Friday? Is it, or as I said, putting the pressure on?
The next one will be out next week.
Brilliant. Next week, and then the week after that, hopefully we'll get the third one out. We're going to be covering, as I said, Tyneside Cinema. That we'll hopefully have that out, filmed, and back to you within the next month. Perhaps in combined with the next live show. The next live show will be coming to you 1 month from today, which will be whatever date that will be. We're going to tell you what date and what month that's going to be.
26th. 26th.
The 26th of October will be the next Peep Live, all being well, and obviously as the weeks roll towards that, look out for the short videos, giving you a bit more information of what to expect and upcoming fights, etc., that we will be covering. As I said, myself and Scott will be out there, and obviously Cliff filming trade routes. So if you have a business out there that's interested in having Peep come and discuss with you about your setup, your operations, what got you into it, what your entrepreneurship to start the business, then we're more than happy to come in and discuss that with you and do a bit of filming, help you to promote your business. Please support us on Patreon. Please subscribe. I'll be interested to talk to Scott, who's a triathlete, which I didn't realize. I think it'd be nice to maybe go out and do some. I think, well, do you know what I'd propose? That we could do something where you would take me out and we could film this together, and you could take me through some of the triathlete training that you do.
Right.
And perhaps that could be like a SINTAX special, sport triathlete. So I'll come in and out of my my comfort zone, but try something that. So it'd be nice. You could take me through the running, the technique, specific techniques as a runner for triathlete, the cycling, the swimming, and that's something we can maybe do and film for a future show. Thank you to Consinity for contributing their music to us at Peep. That's now our headline music that we have. Thank you to Spending More Sports, Kieran Kane, for being one of our partners and offering these tremendous prizes. Thank you to Mr. Jordan B. Peterson for trying to change the world to become a better place. I want to say thank you to Cliff Sainsbury for setting the whole damn thing up. And I want to say thank you to my good friend and co-host Scott Illingworth. I think the show's really, it's really come up a level since you've joined us. So thank you very much for that. The professionalism has raised. We didn't quite make our 1:30 mark.
No,
I think we've done better.
Yeah,
we've not done too bad. But I'll tell you what, it's just flown by. I think it's been a tight show. Thank you very much to you, the viewer at home, for joining us tonight. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you to Tyron Elliott for my jiu-jitsu session this morning, perhaps a future guest. Hopefully he's watching tonight. Thank you to Baz for watching, to Kieran, to our man who commented, Cliff, our chap from Manor who asked about
Jonas Barry.
Thank you, Jonas Barry, for coming. Thank you to Paulina, hopefully watching tonight. Jonas, and
thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. You're very welcome.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here,
James.
So thank you to you, the viewer. We'll see you again in a month. Keep in touch. Subscribe. Peep out.